Hey, I'm Tim C.
Hey, I'm Landon Blank.
You're listening to Hacking Concrete. So we're here with Bob Harris of, what is your company called?
So my wife runs Decorative Concrete Institute, DCI, and I am a consultant for SSI, which is Structural Services Incorporated.
Is that your company?
No, it's a group of 12 guys, professionals that make up that. So
cool.
I still dabble with the DCI though.
Yeah.
Helping with her day-to-day operations and running classes as well.
Right. Okay. So she runs. Leanne is her name.
Yep.
Okay. She runs the DCI. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and so we're sitting with a Hall of Famer right here, right?
Yes, actually.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty impressed actually. It was the first year that they started the Hall of Fame. So
yeah.
I was pretty shocked and honored
you
certainly
shouldn't be.
to be part of that.
You shouldn't be. You've taught a lot of people over the years, and I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, with that in mind, somebody asked, and I started thinking about, teaching in South Africa and China and across the globe. And so when you say a lot of people, it's literally tens and thousands of people that we've been fortunate to work with and train through the years. Yeah. So,
I mean, when we started our business in 2001, and it wasn't easy to get information back then. I'm sure you knew that, but you were one of the first to and it was through Concrete Network that you were putting videos on YouTube, and you're kind of being open with information, which was super rare at the time. It still is now, but to a lesser degree. I don't think, maybe you do. I wonder what the number is. I bet you it's a big number of people that have watched and put those things into action on a job.
Oh yeah, it's a huge number, and it was weird. I was working previously in the 1990 era for a manufacturer, and I was going through some frustrations working with them, but I always loved teaching. And I was telling one of my coworkers that I was thinking about leaving that company, and he asked me the question. He said, "Well, how do you feel when you're in front of a group of students teaching? How do you feel at that moment?" And I literally got chills, and I'm getting chills now saying the same thing.
Wow.
25 years later, and that's when I realized that that's my path in life, is to make, to be a change agent really, and to be able to help others. And that's a commitment, whether you're a school teacher or a decorative concrete teacher, there's a lot of commitment that goes with that, and a lot of responsibility that goes along with that too. So to your point, yeah, it's very, very gratifying to have students come up and say, hey, we follow you on Facebook, and we have your books, and of course they're all wore out now and missing pages, but yeah, so it started way back then, and it's really special being able to help people. And I think that's my biggest satisfaction personally in life right now, is seeing some of the young guys that are here, that have been to class after class, and I want to see them succeed, and it's just very gratifying to see them succeeding in their own day-to-day business. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we went down to Increte Systems and learned in 2001, and then you can only learn so much in a couple of days. So we ended up buying all these books, have a bunch of your books. We bought the Futong Chang books and Buddy Rhodes books, and that was before it was so readily available. It's nice you can with your online stuff that you're doing now, you can actually it's great. It's great that it makes things a lot easier.
So we were in Vegas, like we said, and Tim was in the game a little bit before me, and he was like, hey, there's the guru. I was like, the guru? That's the guru. And sure enough, started looking at the old videos and all that. Where did that process come? So you had the passion for teaching, and then you move into book writing, or someone?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I love to give credit when it's due. And so it was at the World of Concrete, my gosh, like I said, around that same time frame, probably late 90s. And back then, people were, as you mentioned earlier, they were starved for knowledge, and so, a friend of mine, Cliff Rollins, and we taught the first ever polished concrete class at the World of Concrete, and it was standing room only with 800 people in there.
Wow.
And anyways, at that event, as you stay over and you answer everybody's questions, and the crowd got smaller and smaller, and pretty soon there was 3 guys in the audience, and one of those 3 guys happened to be Jim Peterson from Concrete Network.
Wow.
And he actually came up to the stage, and I'm again getting chills right now, and introduced himself first off. And he said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I'm like, well, actually I have. And so Jim was truly instrumental in helping me, publish the book. And you guys, you mentioned you like stories. And so it's kind of a funny story. He actually flew, and the first book we did, which was the Bob Harris Guide to Stained Concrete, he flew to our house, and basically he told me, he said, I'm going to tape record this, and I just want you to talk. I'm going to ask you some questions. And the next book, the Overlays and Toppings book, or the Stamp Concrete maybe, we literally had a trading class in South Carolina, and some of that book was written in a car, driving to South Carolina, if you can believe it. So
just recorded.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Recorded.
And then we have a professional writer, Anne is her name, and then her and I would collaborate back and forth. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I would say we've got to change this and do this. So yeah,
Wow. That's cool. Jim's a good guy. I mean,
Jim's as good as it gets. I feel very fortunate and blessed to have a friend like him and his wife Val, and we're very close. The former owners of Chemical Acid Stain, Barb and Sarge, and Jim and Val and my wife Leanne and I get together 3 times a year.
Oh,
so
really?
we all go. They come to our house, we go to their house, and go to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's great.
Yeah, we've been on the Concrete Network since 2002-ish, probably somewhere in there. It's been a long time. It's a good website.
It is.
This doesn't seem to get old for you?
No, it doesn't. No, and I think every event is special, of course, but I think this one probably has the most impact simply due to the fact of this lockdown that our nation has been in, with COVID and stuff like that. And so I think, I've been traveling since day one of COVID, back and forth to Seattle for some big, large Home Depot jobs and stuff like that. I'm the only one on an airplane, or one other person. But my point is, I'm responsible. When I'm asked to wear a mask, I wear a mask. But I think that people, they're tired of it to a certain degree, and they want to get out and do this. So yeah, to your point, I enjoy this because it's an opportunity to see a lot of good faces. And I think one of the most gratifying things is, and I've already had this 5 times today, say, hey, we follow you on Facebook, and I recognize their name, but we've never met in person.
Sure.
So so that's nice.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. That sign out. How good of a feeling was it when you pulled up and saw that sign under the Decorative sign out there about faith over fear?
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
I love that he put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason's as good as it gets, man. I'll tell you, I commend him and his entire staff. And that's another reason that I feel motivated to come out and be a part of his event, is they're genuinely nice people. All of them. Every person on his staff is just great people.
Right. Yeah, they've been great to us. To us. I didn't. One quick question to backtrack though, when you talk about different countries, what is that about?
Yeah, so it's crazy. When my father was alive, who was a very successful concrete guy, and
So that's how you got. That's
how I got in it. Yeah, I'm 3rd generation concrete finisher.
Okay,
and then his dad, my grandfather, actually helped pour concrete on the Hoover Dam. If you can believe that. Yeah,
wow. That's awesome.
Pretty cool. But I'll never forget. My dad said, son, be the best that you can be at your craft, and you'll be able to take that skill anywhere in the world. And I remember we got a request to go to Athens, Greece. I mean, my goodness, this is where architecture originated 4,000 years ago.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, here's like a group of 30 Greek, workers that were training over there, and I'm looking as a crow flies, a mile in the background is the Parthenon sitting right there, and I'm thinking, this is surreal. And I felt my dad on my shoulder.
Wow.
So I do. I enjoy that. I think that my job, I travel weekly as a consultant, troubleshooting bad concrete slabs. I don't enjoy that as much, because it's routine, but I really get a kick out of traveling abroad. As a matter of fact, our favorite city is Venice, Italy, and so the floors there we've become some really close friends with some of the Venetians that live there in Venice, and we were actually scheduled like a week after COVID hit to go to Venice and teach over there with a friend of mine, Luca Simonati, who owns Ideal Works.
Now, what would you be teaching?
A variety of what's going on here.
Cool.
We've been over and taught countertops, and they're interested in some of my designs and recreating these Venetian themes, staining concrete, so a variety of things.
So I've always wondered something about you. You did these, I think it was with Proline, you made stamps in other countries?
So that was a group of individuals. It was my wife and I, Luca Simonati and his partner Mauricio, and John Anderson out of England at that time. We collaborated and put our heads together. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to get out of the mundane, day-to-day stamp manufacturers, not to discredit anybody, because there's a lot of great manufacturers, but we thought, as professional stampers, let's create something that nobody's ever done. So we came up with the name Poladiano by Bob Harris, and we traveled to 7 different countries, and we literally pulled latex skins off of some geographical, historical
regions. Unbelievable. I did not know that.
So that's what I want to get at. So what was it like when you're at these places? And I just imagine, like, my knowledge of casting things like that is you mix up the stuff in buckets and you dump it onto something. Is that what you did?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what did people
Yeah.
What do
so,
they think?
So it's funny you
That's
ask.
history. That's history.
Because one of our first ones was Yorkshire cobble in Yorkshire, England, and it wasn't a big deal because there wasn't a lot of public around that area. So we, chilled out for an hour and we pulled our skin.
That's funny.
But we almost got arrested in Paris by the armed armed security guys when we're out there and they're trying to get the little 4-inch by 4-inch cobblestones. And yeah, it was a big thing. So fortunately, we got our skin and got out of town.
So you don't ask permission, you just do it.
We do, yeah, we did it. Yes,
Oh, I love it.
That's exactly
Yeah.
something we would do.
Legendary.
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course you can ask a lot of the professional stampers down at this event what their favorite pattern is, and by far it's one that's called Stones of Athens, which literally was from stones from Athens right there by the Acropolis.
That's
What an
legendary.
awesome
I mean,
idea.
how do you
Yeah.
go out there with like these chemicals and you're like mixing them up and just dumping them in the street? Like
Yeah.
in today's time, I would think that people would.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would think.
Yeah,
that's
and honestly though, we're respectful of it too. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
we're not doing anything like. I mean, we're cleaning
I
ourselves
understand that,
up
for
and stuff
sure.
like that. But anyways, that line, you asked the question. Brickform bought the intellectual property rights to the stamp,
did,
so
okay.
they now are the producer and they own the rights to that stamp.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So, just my curiosity, those two. What were the other ones?
The other patterns, we had
Yeah.
fractured cypress slate, so that was from the island of Cyprus.
North
You went to
Cyprus,
Cyprus.
North Cyprus
Yeah.
or South?
Yeah, north.
North. Nice.
Yeah.
I've spent some time there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then we had one that was called Sophia Stone. We have Venetian rotating marble, which was a beautiful pattern. And then drawing a blank on the other one, but yeah, one more. So
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
funny.
How that's such a awesome idea that you would think of. Why didn't I think? That's one of those. Why didn't anybody think of that? To
Well,
take history and just
two
relive
guys
it.
today, I was having a conversation yesterday, and they came up and they introduced themselves to me, and they use that as a selling point, and it helps them get jobs. They said, "You guys know where this tool was derived," and they show them a brochure of the actual stone. And they said,
Yeah.
it was actually derived in in the Venice, Italy region or something.
No doubt.
So it helps
That's
them
funny.
sell from a marketing perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So how's the new place? You just built a new place.
Yeah, my wife and I did. We've been there 2.5 years, and like always, it's an ongoing, ongoing life project,
This is
lifelong project.
This is the Decorative Concrete Institute, like where they do trainings.
Yeah,
And okay.
So he built a new facility.
correct.
So how often are you having people down?
So I imagine a lot of wood countertops, wood floors.
Yeah, Formica, carpet interiors.
That's funny.
So COVID has pretty much zapped our training classes as well as everybody, as you know.
Yeah.
We did have a very successful polished concrete class. There was probably 15, 16 people, but the reality of it is, and I get it, people are scared and they're just not ready to travel. So Leanne has, I think 3 classes posted right now. We've got Joshua Russell going to come help us do some vertical carving. We have an advanced stamp concrete class, and then we do have a polished concrete class coming up here over the next 3 months.
Amazing.
Where do you see things headed?
I get asked that question, and it's funny because our first metallic job that we ever did was back in 1998. That shows my age, back when I had hair. But and they asked what's the latest and the greatest and where's the trends going. And back then when people saw metallic floors, and we did one, it was a 6,000 square foot restaurant, which is still there today, by the way. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, what is that? They've never seen it.
Yeah.
And then like everything, it just fades away, you
Sure.
know? I'm very old school in my approach, and although there are plenty of new trends, polished concrete's here to stay. I think that's probably the most popular flooring medium right now because of the durability, the look, and
Sure.
things like that, and light reflectivity, that kind of things. But stamped concrete's always going to be here. Concrete countertops, it always comes back. So my point is, you'll see the trends, but it's the meat and potatoes that will drive our industry, which is the stamping and the countertops and stuff like that.
So we've been talking about stamping. Our company's gotten away from stamping a little bit because it's so hard to be competitive anymore. Everybody's rent stamps, and the plants are putting color in the truck. So can you envision what we could do to sell it better? Because the stuff that we're competing against, people are putting color in the concrete, the finisher's stamping it, they're letting the GC wash it and seal it. They don't halfway wash it. They leave too much release on.
Yeah.
They have sealer issues within a year. That's every stamp job in our hometown right now, like
Right.
all of them. And then we go to sell it, and they're like, "Well, I'm not paying $12 a foot for that.
Yeah.
When this guy will do it for $3."
Right.
And you try to explain, well, it's not going to last, So I mean, what can we do? What do you think? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes throughout my career, people would ask, how do you perceive marketing? Marketing, in my opinion, is doing kick-ass stamp jobs. You know what I mean? So, and one job, they see that and, building up that reputation. And you're right. I mean, it is a very competitive market, but successful work is going to spawn more successful work. You know what I mean?
It's so tough because like those jobs I was talking about, they look really good on day one.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to. It's tough. It's hard.
One
and
of
I
the
wish
biggest
it wasn't.
things too is if by chance somehow you could get your work in a public forum, meaning an auto dealership, or something where the general public is going on it, because let's face it, you guys do a patio that nobody will see,
right, that's right.
other than the neighbor if they're looking over the fence. So if you could get your work somehow exposed to the general public, whether it was a strip mall, a grocery store or something like that, that's one way as well.
Right.
We're just kind of like speaking of the industry as a whole, really. Like I think that's a nationwide problem, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And,
well, yes and no. I think that, it's funny thinking back also in my career. I would have my students come up to me and they say, "Bob, we're so frustrated. This market's getting saturated. And, what do we do? What do we do?" And I said, "Keep your blinders on. Don't worry about what your competition's doing. Worry about what you do, and your work will shine. Hands down." And so I think about it like the Florida market, Texas market, California, Phoenix, Arizona. Those guys have more work than they can handle.
Right.
Specifically stamped concrete, by the way.
Yeah.
And the same goes true for polishing. We don't contract anymore, but we've on occasion, if time permits, we'll do a side job on a weekend or something if it doesn't conflict with my other responsibilities. But and then one person sees that and they're like, "Who did that?" And literally, we polished a house, and we've got like 3 other houses that want us to polish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. That's kind of the way that goes. Yeah. I think it's funny we're sitting here around these color hardener buckets. People don't use this much where we are anymore. It's always in the truck.
Yeah, and again, I'm very, very old school that way too.
I love color hardener though. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I spent a good part of my career early on down at Disney World doing all of their theme stamped concrete. And it's very gratifying when we take our grandkids down there and say, "Hey, your grandpa," or I'm known as Beepaw, did that, 25 years ago, and it still looks just as good, and that's a testament to color hardener.
Yeah.
I agree with your point, though. I get disgusted. Gosh forbid, they pour gray concrete and use a powder release. That makes me angry.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, it does. That's funny you said that too. We did this one place we're from Lynchburg, and we did this place called Sequest in Lynchburg. We did this metallic epoxy, it's like 15,000 feet, and I love taking my kids there because they're like, they love to brag that we did that. Like,
they do.
Right.
So one of my biggest stories like that is one of my last jobs that I did down in Orlando was MGM Studios.
Okay.
And
just a little job.
Yeah.
Just a little job.
I call them the Disnoids, but the architect, WDI, Walt Disney Imagineer, they assign an artist to you, and so Scott was his name, and he came out, and he had all kinds of crazy finishes, everything that you would never do in a real environment, like taking straight raw Portland cement, broadcasting it on the surface, and then when you Fresno that in, it chatters, so he wanted it to make it look like cracked earth almost, and we did it, and it still held up. But in one instance, they said, "Can you make up some dog prints, like a rubber paw prints? We want it to look like the dog ran through the concrete." And I'm like, "Well, that's not very creative." And she said, Sue was her name, said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, let's do it with a dog." And so I lived close to the park, and I went home and got my dog, who was all hand commanded, because I went through obedience training with him, both for me and him, and put him in sit stay and 40 feet on the other slab, and called him. And there's no way I could have placed him any better, like off kneeboard.
Awesome.
So that it's funny because we were down there with the kids one time, and these people probably thought, these are strange people. This family's like looking down while these other people are trying to eat, and that's my dog's paw prints right there.
That's neat. Wow,
that's funny. Yeah,
that's so cool.
But you said about looking down and where I was on my honeymoon with my wife, and the whole time I was like, "Hey, look, stamped concrete," because it was new to me at the time. It was like our first year into it.
Right.
I always think about that. Like it's funny that we walk around looking down. Landon does it too. We walk around looking down everywhere we go.
Right. Exactly.
Seeing what's going on. That's funny.
Well, that's been great. That's great.
It was good. Well, thanks for talking with us today.
Not a problem at all.
It was a good time.
Enjoyed it.
And where can people find you online?
So you can go, let's see, Decorative Concrete Institute.
Okay.
.com.
DecorativeConcreteInstitute.com. Are you just Bob Harris on Facebook? You said you use Facebook a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And Do you do Instagram or anything like that?
I don't. I'm I'm a old fogey. I'm not
That's
an
all right.
Instagrammer.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Your
So-
videos are easy to find, though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Easy to find. That's right. Well, anyways, thanks for talking to
All
us.
right, guys. No
Thanks so
problem.
much.
Good time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.